So after yesterday's short excursion into Vaesen, caught the bug a little bit. And as I mentioned yesterday, I actually put, let's see whether my Welsh pronunciation works, a Llantywyll Incident, which is for the Kickstarter for Mythic Britain, or pre-order, can't remember. One of the scenarios that is included, it has just been distributed to people who's backed it. So here, what I've done basically is I've just put together the scenario. It probably all told took me about 3.5, 4 hours to put it on. And I started off just basically copying, pasting the relevant bits and making the actors and getting the portraits in. And then I finished off with this sort of landing screen for the players. Of course, this one here is partially for you guys. So I wouldn't be talking about taking Foundry to Mythic Britain. So let's just get rid of those little bits here initially, so that doesn't get in the way. So what I've done basically is I've created a little bit of a landing page. This is actually the assets for this are from Roll20. So you've got tables and you've got floors and you've got books and decorations. You can do quite a bit with it. But it's just for Vaesen, I think, because a lot of it is theatre of the mind. It's a really nice way of doing this. So I've got a map of Britain over here. I've got roughly where the places that they will be getting a letter from. Yeah, it doesn't, as far as I know, it doesn't exist, but I just picked something that matches the description and starts with Lum as well. These are public domain assets, by the way, these maps here. That's from the National Congress, Library of Congress, I think, in the United States. And then we've got some public domain pictures on here as well of the slate industry in Wales, roughly the right time, because, of course, Vaesen is not prescriptive about the time you're going to set this in. So I went for 1870, 1871, around that time. And I've actually been to Wales and driven through this landscape here, where they've got the old slate mines. Some of them are still working, a lot of them are not. It is a very strange sight. It looks like... basically, it's a destroyed landscape if you think about it from environmental perspective, yeah. But of course, slate extraction was a huge thing at the time, and that's actually one thing I really like about Vaesen. It picks up these topics of industrialization, like in Silver of the Sea with the herring fishing and so on, or the logging, or the road building, or whatever it might be, and it's got a quite nice message about it with that. So I pulled out the main village map here. Of course, I could initially hide that off for the players until they actually do the research and then just plonk it down as a tile. I've got a letter here, and on here using GM icons, gameicons.net actually it's called, and background list pins and pin cushion. I can release this to the players. They can then see the text. By the way, there might be some mild spoilers in here, but I'll try to keep it very light on spoilers. And I've got the original asset here as well. Now, the other day I mentioned that sometimes players struggle reading this, especially on smaller screens. So if I showed this to players, they might really struggle reading this, especially, as I said, if they're not familiar with this sort of typeface. A lot of younger people are not anymore. Or if they're on a small screen. So I've got it here with the letter here as well. And I haven't got my journal scaler on. Oh dear. So I was going to zoom in, but hey, there might be spoilers in here. So that once released to them, yeah, once I made this available to the players, they can always go back to it and read it again. I quite like the idea of that. That's actually, I think, the only scene that I created. I might have to create another scene at some point. Did I? Yeah, that's the one scene I've created for this. Or let me zoom in the menus again. I think that's always better on the stream. So, what else have I done? There were no items to do, so let's just have a look at the journal. So I created a subfolder here. Yeah, I've got my handouts at the top. They are the 4 handouts that might be relevant, and which I can share bit by bit with the players. I've got the characters that we need. Yeah, and I basically put them in 2 ways. I put them in like I would probably use them most likely as a journal entry. So I've got the picture here, which I can show to the players. And I've got my own little description here on the side. But I also created them, probably should put that link in. Let me just do that. Created them as actors as well. So if I go into my actors folder, find the same guy, plonk him up here, save entry, you now have a link to the character sheet there as well. Yeah, and on the node, I did the link the other way around. So I always have both the bits of information there without having to go digging through my notes. So yeah, I put them as journal entries, like this, and also as characters. The sidebars, I took the idea of Dr. Ogress, and thanks for getting back to me, by the way, with a couple of feedbacks from the previous streams and video. So that's good that he's looking at some of the things. Yeah, so these are things basically, I stole the idea from him, keeping the sidebar separate, because they are often quite generic. Yeah, so this is talking about slate mining in Wales in general, not for the scenario. So it's useful to have, but you might not have to have it all the time. I then created this sort of run-up, the preparation and the journey as my zeros. You can see the numbering I did. Then the investigation phase as ones, which is mainly structured around the locations. Yeah. So I made a little overview chart here with all the locations, and I'll show you why in a minute, why I did that. And then at the end, the confrontation and the aftermath, which I will not be opening right now because I want to keep the spoilers light. So that's getting that information in. Let me actually click on a couple of things like preparations, for example. That's not the best one. I want something with a nice formatting. So what I did here, this looks like a really nice layout, I think. And the fonts, they're all baked in. The one thing I had to do, and I haven't been able to override the default of it, but the headings initially, these headings here, heading format 2, I think it is, came at as a 14 point, which is far too small, so for me anyway. So I went into the HTML bit here. Some of you might probably run away screaming, but you can see the H2 tag here is defined as a span style. So that's why I can't override it very easily. And it started off with a 14 here. That's the default. And if I save that, you can see that those headings are really small. Yeah, they look smaller than the main text. So I just went in for the main structures to help myself. And because I was playing around and enjoying myself, 32 point, which looks a bit strange there. But once you save it and you look at it, that's spot on. 32 spot on, I think. So I probably will not read this during the game when I'm running it, but if I want to remind myself by the time I get to play this, might be 6 months or so, I've got it all there. I also took the idea that I actually learned in Fantasy Grounds of always linking the next one in every journal entry, or almost every. I just noticed that I didn't do that here. To help me navigate the whole thing. So, for example, preparations. Yeah, I've got also any relevant handouts here, the previous thing, and any relevant handouts that I tag up here. So I've got it all together. The newspaper article that pops up at that time, I also put on the image. And so this one is easier to read. I can then just show players from here. Okay, so the last bit I then did was I prepared my GM screen. Now, what I have not done is yet shared entries. You can share some of these with players, I believe. So I've got my main one, not populated yet, but the story one. So I would probably have my key information about people over here, followed up by my journal entry, Dramatis Personae, of everybody in it, so that the character information is always just one click away. Oh, I broke a link there, apparently. Let's repair that. So one cool thing, of course, if it's enabled, yes, it's the quick insert, or search anywhere, I think it's called. So if I wanted to find Dr. Evans, the character, or the journal entry, which one, the character I need? The actor. Now it's fixed. There you go. So then I've got the locations. Yeah. It's very much a sandbox. It's very much, this is the village. You can go around. So the order is just the order. It's in the books. The confrontation. And I've got the key handouts here on the side. So if I wanted to show these very swiftly, again, you just click here on the pin, show players, done. Or if I want to read up on what was the article saying again, I've got it all here. Right. The mine is probably the... when they get to the mine, I could plonk this down as another tile. Might be interesting to show you just briefly how you would do that. So I've uploaded the assets all into my one world here, into Llantywyll Incident. And I would have the mine asset here. So if I wanted to drag that on, you just plonk it on the table for them. Yeah, and if you are... even fits. Yeah, so this would not be battle map, but it would be able to show the players what's going on. And in theory, at least, I can get actors onto this. I haven't tried this yet. Yeah, they're not iconized yet. That's something I haven't done. I haven't done for everything and created tokens for everybody. So that's remaining on my homework list, either with token stamp 2 or with token tool. I quite like token tool personally. So you could use it as a battle map, but there's no point in doing walls and stuff in something like this, I think. Vaesen is just not the game for it. So, as I said, the core of getting the text in probably took about 2 hours, 2.5 hours. Getting the characters in probably took another, well, the actors probably took at least half an hour, with the Vaesen taking the longest, because you have to do all the different condition statuses for them. And then finishing this with this landing page was another half hour. So whatever I came up to, is that 4 hours? I think so. And I was chatting to Paul Watson quite a while last night while I was doing this. So I was getting slightly distracted. A really good chat. Anyway, I hope that was interesting. It might give you some ideas of how to tackle this sort of game. And yeah, well, I just had fun doing it. So see you soon.